Shana Tova. Welcome everyone. Gemar Chatima Tova. We are so grateful that everyone is here with us. I welcome everybody here. We'll have more words of welcome to come. For now, we'll begin Mincha. Dr. Chuck Baumser will lead us, beginning on page 431 in the Machzor. No.
Don't wait for it. Ashrei Yoshua V'techu Yukasela. Tehillah the night after Peter Papa Sarshem Pachalom Vanach Nuvarach Yamatablam Hallelujah. Ikadavika Ashmei Rabba.
Amen.
Yamadrak Yamikon Tevchayachon of Yamechon Vachayachol Beit Israel Lagos Makarivim. Amen.
Amen. Yishmer Rabba Barak Melam Maya.
Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitbar Vitramid Nasevi Tadar Vitalavital Ashmir Kushach. Leila Leila Mikol Bachata Vishirata Tushkata Venekemata Devim Yomam Yimru. Amen.
We rise, page 433.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elahei Avotenu Elahei Avraham Elahei Yitzchak Elahei Yaakov Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor Nora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Yaakov Zocher Chastei Avot Mevi Goel Livnei V'Neim L'man Shul B'Ava Zochreinu L'Chayim Melech HaPeis B'Chayim V'Chatveinu B'Sefer HaChayim L'man Cha Elohim Chayim Melech Ozer HaMashiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham אתה גיבור למרנאי בחיים מתים אתה רב לושיע מוריד הטל מקלקל חיים בחסד מחיים מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים מתיר אסורים ומקיים אמרתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות תמיד אומר לך מלך ממית ומחיים עצמי ישוע מי כמוך אב הרחמים זוכר יסור רב לחיים ורחמים ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי המתים יקדש שמך בעולם, כשם שמע תשיב אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב ביד נביאך וקרא זה, אל זה, ואמר קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך ארץ כבודו, ולמתן ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו, דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם ולהייך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך, רצח תצחק בריאות שלך נקדיש ושפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש. Kaddish Shalem, page 441. Yikra b'gdash Shemei Rabba, Yalma Divrak Yuterim Nichmachotei B'chayechon, of Yamechon, of Chayra Kol Beit Yisrael, Agal Izma Karibru, Amen, Yehi Shmei Rabba, Mevarach Levu Yamayat, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitbarach V'yishbram V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitelev V'yitalal Shmei Kudsha, Berichu, Leila Mikol V'yuchata V'shirata, Tushvachata V'nechemata, Damir V'yama V'yimru, Amen. Tid Kabel Son of Alkon, the Kol Yisrael Kodam, Avahom Nishmaya V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Alekos Ru, Amen.
Amen.
O Seshel Ramav, Hu Yaseshel Aleinu, V'chayis Ru, Amen.
Amen.
Aleinu V'shabechenu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol atet v'tzadi otzeh b'rishit.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Warner's Kaddish. יגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועלמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חום וביומי חום ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן לעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן.
יישר koach and thank you. We're going to start in just a moment with Kol Nidre. If there's anyone here who did not have the opportunity to light candles at home and you wish to do so, there are candles available in the corridor between this space and the kitchen. So those rear doors get you to that, on that side, get you to that corridor, and you can light candles. The bracha tonight you will find in your machzor at page 199. So if that's where you want to be right now, then go for it. All right. I don't know that I'm here until I look out and see all of you. So I need to see all of you. Is it just me or is it really hot in here? Yeah, it's really hot in here. Okay. Michael, I don't know where you are in the building right now, but the vote by acclamation was that it's really hot in here. Oh, now. What a good rabbi. He immediately starts conflict in the congregation. The tefillot of Yom Kippur They're a lot. We all know the expression, shoot for the moon. Yom Kippur shoots for the moon. It's a very, very high reach. And over the course of the day, this one long day, I have every expectation that many of you will feel, as I do, waves of hope and discouragement, confidence, and a nagging, perhaps even deep sense of inadequacy. I want to assure you that that fluctuation in our individual selves is entirely normal and appropriate to the day. It actually means the day is going forward as it should. However, my hope and prayer at this sacred moment is that the strength and confidence of our community together can sustain those fluctuations in our individual spirits, that we as a community will enter into, proceed through, and emerge from this holy day, that we as a community will make our way through it with unwavering confidence. And it is that confidence that forgiveness is at hand, that being unburdened, relieved, and invited into a new year of blessing is at hand, that our confidence in that, as a community, with the strength of our numbers and the purity of our aspirations, that that will keep us whole and that that will be enough. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Chazan Stein, are we ready? At page 204, we will rise as the Aron Kodesh is opened. Would our past presidents please come forward? ולאיש לשמחה. רוח לצדיק ולאיש לשמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק ולאיש לשמחה.
Vishiva Shamala, Vishiva Shamata, Adat Makom, Ve'adat Akal, Anumatirin, Litbalel Imavayanim, Vishiva Shalmalav, Uvishiva Shalmata, Adat Makom, Ve'adat Akal, Anumatirin, Litbalel Imavayanim, Vishiva Shamala, Vishiva Shamata, Adat Makom, Ve'adat Akal, Anumatirin, Litbalel Imavayanim. There's a tradition that for Kol Nidre, which we recite 3 times for the Chazan, to increase the chanting in intensity each time, either by rising in pitch or by rising in volume or a more elaborate setting. Last year I introduced a new way of approaching this custom of inviting the congregation to join in this typical cantorial solo. The first time I sing it, I invite you just to listen. Hear the familiar melody. Think about what it recalls for you. Second time, I invite you to sing along, but softly. Third time, sing out. Kol Nidre, Ve'asarei, V'charamei, V'konamei, V'chinoyei, V'kinusei, Ushvot, Dim Darna, O Deishtabana, O Deacharimna, Vedasarna, Al, Naushatana, Mi Yom Kippurim Nidrat naveon. On. Yon Sharon. Shevin. Shevin. Vetilin votalin. La sheririn. Velo. Ayamin. Nidrana la nidre. Yasarana la yasare. Oshvotana la shvot. Kol Nidre, Be'asarei, V'charamei, V'konamei, V'chiliei, V'negidusei, Oshvot. Yom Kippurim ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Letova ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל המשגע ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל המשגע ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל המשגע. סלח נא לעוונם הזה כקודש חסדך וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ידנה ושם נאמר.
Repeating after the Chazan 3 times in the Hebrew or the English.
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך
Adonai replied, I have forgiven as you have asked.
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ברוך
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך
העולם
העולם
שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
This Sefer Torah now returned to the Aron Kodesh. We've arrived at the Mariv service. We stand for just another moment through the Baruch Hu, and then finally we can be, oh, I spoke too late. And then finally we can be seated. 207.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam. Baruch Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai. And now for real, we can be seated.
Ma'avir yom mevi laila, ma'avir ben yom uven laila. Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Echai v'kayam, Amidim l'chalinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai. Amariv Haravim. Yeh mechayenu v'orech yameinu ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, ve'kol nafshecha, ve'kol levecha. Adonai Elechem, Amen. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ובני ישראל. ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נער בקודש נורא תהילות מלכותך ראו בניך פוקעים לפני משה זה לי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ונאמר כי פדרנו את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני בעל ישראל השכיבנו ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום יתביא עד עולם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. We rise, page 212, middle paragraph. ביום הזה יכפר עליכם לטהרכם מכוחותיכם לפני אדוני תתארו. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם ועלמד יברך גבותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון ויומכון וחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יש מרבם ברך לעולם עולם המאיה יברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה יריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה אמירן ועלמה ואמרו Amen.
The individual Amidah begins at page 221. 213. 213. We are at page 223. Do you have somebody coming forward, Mitch? Okay. So the ark will be opened for Ya'aleh, and we will stand.
יעלה תחנוננו מערב, ויבוא שבתנו מבוקר, וירע רינוננו עד ערב. יעלה קולנו מערב, ויבוא ציקתנו מבוקר, וירע פדיוננו עד ערב. עלינו ינו מערב, ויבוא סליחתנו מבוקר, וירע נקתנו עד ערב. יעלה מנוסינו מערב, ויבוא למענו מבוקר, וירע כיפורנו עד ערב. יעלה אישנו מערב, ויבוא תורנו מבוקר, וירע חינוננו עד ערב.
May our supplications rise up at evening, our pleas arrive with the dawn, our songs transform the dusk. This beautiful piyut carries us from this moment, this evening, on through the night to dawn and across the day, arriving a little tired, very hungry, at tomorrow evening. Why does this piyut carry us over the course of a day? Because forgiveness is not a transaction concluded in a moment. Forgiveness, repentance, repair, return is about a relationship that is cultivated, pursued, and understood over time.
יעלה זיכרוננו מערב, ויבוא וידורים ויודנו מבוקר, וירא עדותינו
עד ערב.
ויעלה דרכנו מערב, ויבוא גילנו מבוקר, וירא בקשתנו
עד ערב.
ויעלה כתנו מערב, ויבוא אליך מבוקר, וירא אלינו עד ערב.
And we can be seated.
שומע תפילה דחק ובשר יבוא חוסר לשתק ולבן אחרני יבוא לשתק ולבן אחרני לכו נרננה לאדוני נביא לצו אישנו נקד מאפנה ותודה הזמירו נריה לו אשר לא ימוס אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח
We're so happy to welcome to the Bima Yonat. Is it Piva or Paiva? It is Paiva, yes? Yonat Paiva, who will join Chazan Stein for Hanashamalach at the top of 225.
והגוף פולח חוסה חוסה על עמלה הנשמה
מלאך
והגוף פולח חוסה
הנשמה לך בגוף שלך, אדוני עשה למען שמך. אתה שמך אדוני עשה למען שמך. בעבור כבוד שמך, כי אל חנון ורחום שמך. למען שמך אדוני, וסלחת לעווננו, כי רבו.
Darkecha Eloheinu leha'arich apecha la'raim ve'la'atovim vehi tehilatecha la'raim ve'la'atovim vehi tilatecha. Join me in the melody if you're able, or the words. Lemancha Eloheinu aseh velo lanu Re'eh amidatenu dahalim verekim Re'eh amidatenu dahalim verekim Ta'aleh arucha le'aleh nidaf tinachem al afar va'efer al afar va'efer tinachem al afar va'efer al afar va'efer tashlich chata'enu v'tachon b'masecha tereki enish aseh imanu tzedakah tereki enish aseh imanu tzedakah.
זולת רחמך וחסדך תזכור היום ובכל יום נזרה ידידך אפן אליך ברחמך כי אתה הוא בעל הרחמים.
In the lower third of the page, you see in the Hebrew, Vayavor Adonai al panav vayikra. In the English, and Adonai passed before him and called. This moment lifted out of the drama between God and Moshe, when Moshe begs to know God's ways, and God passes before Moshe and reveals God's essential qualities, God's essential way of being in the world. And of those qualities, we have excerpted the 13 attributes of mercy. And in accordance with tradition, again and again and again, we quote God back to God. God says, if we invoke God's attributes of mercy, God will so act in our regard. So this passage shows up many times in the Tefillah, and we will stand when it appears. That'll be in the lower third of 226 at the Hebrew Vayavor.
Vayavor Adonai al panav
Please stand.
Vayikra Adonai Adonai Erakum v'tanu
Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'yemet notzer chesed la'alafim notzer avon avapesha v'chata v'nakei
וסלחת לעווננו וחטאתנו ונחתנו.
We can be seated.
שלח לנו אבינו, כי חטאנו,
נחלנו,
מלכנו,
כי פשענו,
כי
כי
אתה
אתה
אדוני, טוב וסלח, כי אתה אדוני,
טוב וסלח ורב חסד
רב חסד,
לכל קוראיך ורב חסד
רב חסד,
לכל קוראיך. Chazan Stein will lead us now in the beautiful Kihinei Kachomer, this magnificent piyut expands on the image of God first introduced to us, without saying so, in the second of the creation stories, where God forms us out of the earth. Forms us out of the earth. Who does that? Who forms a creature out of the earth? Who works with clay? Well, a potter does. And in many passages in Torah, this image of God as a potter shows up in particular in the language of the prophets. Well, expanding on that idea of God as the artisan and us as the creation, this piyut imagines various materials in the hands of various artisans and plays with the idea of what our limitations are, what our possibilities are, on whose vision our final outcome depends, and our reliance on the artisan to sustain us in the world, rather than be disappointed with his creation and, God forbid, discard it in favor of another. Ki hinei kachomer, page 227.
הנה כחומר ביד היוצר, ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקטר, כן אנחנו בידך חסד נותר, לברית אבין, ואל תיתן ליצר. הנה כאבן ביד המשאתית, ברצותו חז וברצותו מחטאת, כן אנחנו בידך לחיה וממוטט, לברית אבין, ואל תיתן ליצר.
In the middle of the piyut, as iron in the hand of the blacksmith. Won't you join me? As iron in the hand of the blacksmith who forges or withdraws it at will, so are we in your hand. Support the poor. Recall your covenant. Do not heed the accuser. As the helm in the hand of the sailor who holds the course or abandons it at will, so are we in your hand, good and forgiving God. Recall your covenant. Do not heed the accuser. As glass in the hand of the glazier who shapes or melts it at will, so are we in your hand, pardoner of sin and transgression. Recall your covenant. Do not heed the accuser.
ברצותו מיישר וברצותו מחכים, כן אנחנו בידך, אלקנו ונוקים, לברית אבין, ואל תפן ליתר, כי הנה ככסף ביד הצורף, ברצותו משגשג וברצותו מטרף, כן אנחנו בידך נמציא למזור טרף, לברית הבית, לברית הבית, ואל תפן ליתר.
This seems a fine moment to ask our president, Chani Graupe, to come forward. Chani, are you in the room? There you are.
Shana Tova. It's wonderful to see you, to see all these faces. A lot of you I know, some of you I don't know. My name's Menachem Graupe, or lots of people call me Cheni, and this is one of the few rooms where probably a lot of people can actually pronounce that, so that's that's kind of fun here. Hear all sorts of different things, and I guess I'm used to it. I know how to screen for telemarketers now by how they say the name. Anyhow, it's my honor and my privilege to be the president of Congregation Beth Israel Ner Tamid and to have the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I'm happy that so many of you could be here in this room today, and I realize that there's also a lot of people who aren't in the room physically but are joining us electronically. All of you are our community. A little bit about me. I'm a transplant to Milwaukee. Before very briefly living on the East Coast and the West Coast, I grew up just south of the Wisconsin border in a northern suburb of Chicago. I was actually born in Israel, and that probably explains my kind of funny accent. For over 20 years now, Milwaukee's been my home. Some of you have met me at Beth El or others at Beth Israel, now at CBINT. My family has grown and matured at MJDS. Here in this building, we actually celebrated 4 B'nai Mitzvot on the bima right over here. While I haven't met some of you, I know that many of you have met my wife, Laura, who's sitting back there. She's my teacher, my advisor, pastry chef, baker, and my guide. Laura is also a constant volunteer, cheerleader, and doer in the Milwaukee Jewish community, and very close to her heart has been her commitment and enthusiasm for CBINT. Thank you, Laura, for supporting me in this role and letting CBINT borrow me for the attention that it requires. Laura told me that since most of you aren't rushing back for dinner or to do the dishes, that she said I have about 45 minutes to talk to you. I want to take a moment tonight to say, for each of you to say hello to somebody who's sitting near you, especially if it's somebody that you don't already know. We've had 15 member families join the congregation since Rosh Hashanah 5783. In fact, we've had 6 join since June, and I know that there are also some pending memberships that the rabbi and I, along with the board, are soon going to be reviewing and hopefully welcoming. During the last few years, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we've had to balance our community experience with some very major efforts to keep people safe based on our knowledge, our incomplete and our evolving knowledge of COVID. And COVID has not gone away. If you listen or read the internet, or if anybody still reads newspapers, we still get a newspaper. So COVID has not gone away, but neither has CBINT. We are still here. I'm glad that so many of you can be here in person today, and I wanted to have some people stand. If people joined CBINT in 2023, or in 2022, or 2021, I think those are most of the people who wouldn't have been in the room. So if those of you who have joined in those last 3 years, if you could stand for a moment so that we could welcome you. Or if you can't stand, absolutely wave. So take a look. I can't always recognize the people that I see in those little Brady Bunch boxes that we see on Zoom. It's very good to see people's faces. Bruchim habayim, and welcome to the Mishpacha. If you're here today as a guest, we are very happy to have you. Come again. CBINT has an in-person egalitarian minyan that meets twice a day, or come on Shabbat. The parking lot isn't always quite as full as it is today, as it is this evening, but the crowd is always friendly. And we try to have a tasty kiddush, not tomorrow, but tomorrow we will have a delicious breakfast following the service, following Ne'ilah. We always have authentic Yiddishkeit, nourishment for your mind and food for your soul. New members today become part of our strong volunteer force, leaders of our programming and future presidents of the board. I want to thank the board of directors, and many of the members are here, and the past presidents, who you saw quite a number of them earlier this evening, who are here guiding me and helping to guide the synagogue. I want to thank our lay leadership, Beata Abraham, who's as executive director, and Ali Berry, who is our assistant director of congregational learning, and Michael Johnson. Thank you for steering our physical plant, keeping the lights on, patching the leaks. Thank you for filling the building with learning and with activities for the Kehillah. Thank you in advance for your work on security upgrades, which we'll be putting forth thanks to a grant that we received this year from FEMA. Thank you for keeping us safe. And of course, thank you to Marlon Breck, who I think is just outside. She runs the office. She makes sure that I know where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to say, and also communicates with you. And she probably does another 1,200 things that I don't even know about. Thank you. Chazan, Todah. Apart from the spiritual insights and the beautiful way that you're leading the prayers tonight and throughout the year, he also has an upcoming treat for the community, the annual Chazan concert, and that's going to be in the afternoon on Sunday, October 29th. The Chazan and his all-star cast will be presenting music from Prince of Egypt, both the movie and the musical, is that correct? I hope you'll be able to join us. It's suitable for adults and for children of all ages. Rabbi Alter, Yasher Koach. Thank you for being our teacher and our spiritual leader, for your leadership roles outside the synagogue. We know that you're the point person for conservative Jewry here in Milwaukee. And last year in 5783, Rabbi Alter spoke at the annual House of Delegates meeting of the American Medical Association, where our own Jesse Ehrenfeld was sworn in as president of the AMA. So thank you, Rabbi Alter. Rabbi Alter has also been working on the steering committee for an international Shabbaton and convening, and I recently saw the preliminary program. It's exciting. There are lectures, davening, discussions, and it's aimed at clergy, at educators, and lay members of the conservative and the Masorti movement who want a peek at, and also who want a voice in the future of conservative Jewry, the future of our movement. I'm hoping that many of you will be able to join me on, it's the beginning of December 1st through 5th, for the movement's convening. It's going to be the largest gathering of conservative Masorti rabbis, cantors, Jewish professionals, congregational leaders, synagogue members, and young adults from around the world. And it's going to be in Baltimore, hosted by the Cantors Assembly, the Rabbinical Assembly, USCJ, which is our umbrella United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism. I'm going to be there with the rabbi, with Chazan Stein, who's actually going to be leading one of the programs. So if you have the opportunity, join us. Rabbi Alter has also been working with a group of you on the upcoming synagogue Israel trip. You'll have to stay tuned for some more information on what is going to be an absolutely amazing program. And I talk about planning for the Israel trip that's going to be next year. At CBINT during Kol Nidre, we have a custom of thinking about our future and about the future of the congregation, even as we're pondering the happenings of the last year. Those of you here this evening are our future. And you're the guarantors of CBINT for our kids and for our grandkids. For those of you who've renewed your membership this year, and to our new members, thank you, Todah. For those of you who are our guests today, welcome. Shana Tova, and I truly hope you consider joining our community and becoming members soon. In fact, the office is going to be open Tuesday morning, and Marlon is waiting to get you an application. Many of you hopefully most of you still have the Kol Nidre appeal packet card that came with your high holiday ticket. So if you've got it, if you could pull it out, and I've got, the ushers have some baskets and they have extra cards if you don't happen to have cards. So I know that your yearly membership pledges are the biggest contributor to our budget, but the donation that you make tonight or this week, if you're going to make an online donation to the Kol Nidre appeal, is exceedingly important. The last few years have been difficult. We faced a deficit budget, and our CBINT treasurer, David Zaks, he told me that we are not allowed to print money. So I know, and you know, that a deficit budget, to have it year after year, is not something that is sustainable for the synagogue. A little secret that I'm going to tell you, if that's all right, about the Kol Nidre appeal. I know that it seems like it's coming right after the membership dues, and for some of you, I guess it is, but really those dues are from the membership meeting that was back in June. And in the future, I hope to see the Kol Nidre appeal be put towards extraordinary projects in the synagogue. But right now, we can't do that because we need to balance our budget and we need to make sure that we finish paying off the monies that we've spent to keep the building going last year. CBINT, Ner Tamid, our Ner Tamid. It's an eternal light, but it's the people in this room and the people participating with us in this service. These are the people that keep this light on. So today, you can help fill the budget hole by bending one of the tabs. Fold the tab, put it in the envelope, and if you brought your own card, your name is on it. If you didn't bring your own card and you're borrowing one from the usher, put your membership ticket in with it so we know who we need to thank, and we'll figure out a way of letting you in tomorrow. Don't worry about that part. Together, we can grow our CBINT family, growing our programming for this year and for our future. The congregation CBINT traces its history back to 1901 and its roots in Milwaukee to a shul that was established, I believe, in 1884. And I hope that you can join me to support CBINT and its future so we can continue to serve this community in the next 5 years, the next 20 years, the next 120 years. I'm hoping you'll all please be generous. And also, please be involved. We need your donations, but we need your involvement in our minions, in our activities. We need your outreach to members. We need your ideas. We need you as a volunteer. And CBINT needs you as our leaders. We've seen many changes over the last few years at CBINT. I know that there will be many more changes this year and in the coming years, and I know what some of those changes are going to look like. There's a lot of changes that I don't know, that we're going to have to see what they are. I'm very excited to find out what those will be. As a vibrant and living community, CBINT, we change and we grow as we support ourselves and we support our Jewish values. One of the values that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention is ahava. Love is very important at CBINT, and love was very important today up in Green Bay. So. As our Wisconsin motto says, forward, and in Israel we roughly translate that as yalla. So thank you, toda rabah, kmar, chatima tova, and have an easy fast. Not quite 45 minutes. Next year I'll work on it. Thank you so much.
And for my part, I'll just add, Chani, what a pleasure it is to work with you. You are soft-spoken, clear-headed, firm, and funny too. Thank you for all you do. We are at page 229.
El melech yoshev al kisei rachamim min ha'eh v'chasidut mochel avonot amo avi rishon mareh b'chilal chatayim u'sleich al poshim oseh tzedakot im kol basar v'ruach וקראתם תגמול. אלוהית עלינו למה 13, לכולנו יום בריא 13, כמו שהודעת עלינו מקדם, כמו שכתוב, וירד אדוני בענן ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו, ויקרא אדוני,
ברכו וחדון, ערך אפיים, ברם חסד ואמת, נושא חסד אלפים, נושא אהבה ופשע, וחטא ונקי.
וסלחת על עווננו, וחטאתנו ונחתנו. סלח לנו אבינו,
כי חטאנו, מחלנו,
מלכינו,
כי פשענו,
כי אתה אדוני,
טוב וסלח, כי אתה אדוני, טוב וסלח, ורב חסד, ורב חסד, חוק אורך, ורב חסד, ורב חסד, חוק אורך. We can be seated. At page 230, take a look at this piyut. So I want to ask, all right, I have to first make a confession. I have been to many a retreat and Shabbaton in my life and training program and this and that and the other. And one of the questions I really dread is, what are your goals for our 3 days, 2 days, 24 hours, 3 hours here together? I never know what to say. And here I am. I'm going to be the guy who says to you, so what are your goals over the next day? But really, I mean, we come, and let's be honest, not all of you are here the rest of the year, but you're here now. Something about this day calls to you. So I'm asking, because your answer will help you, and I think it'll help others too. What are you looking for? What do you hope to find, to gain over this day, over this Yom Kippur? Don't be shy now.
Forgiveness.
Ellie says forgiveness. From God? From God?
Myself.
From yourself. Well, that's an important narrowing. Thank you. Others? Mark?
To try to feel like, or to experience what it is to be emptiness.
Mark says to feel emptiness. To feel emptiness. Others? Amanda? To know that I am not alone when things are really hard.
To experience a reset.
Thank you, Debbie, to experience a reset. Yes, Eric.
Reflection on the past year and how to make it better this coming year.
Reflection on the past year and how to make it better in the year to come. Yes, Jack.
Some comfort in a world that doesn't provide very much.
To find comfort here in a world that otherwise does not provide very much comfort. Thank you. Is there a hand here? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Panina. To feel centered. Thank you, Panina. Yes?
To feel gratitude for a perfect healing.
To feel gratitude for perfect healing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes?
Feel as much as possible a sense of awe.
To feel as much as possible a sense of awe. Thank you. Yes, Peter?
Self-respect and also respect for others or us.
Very good. Self-respect and also respect for others. Thank you, Peter. Yes, Amy? To feel present. Bill?
To honor my father and my mother and all the generations that came before us.
To honor my father and my mother, says Bill, and all the generations who came before. Yes?
To display more love in acts of kindness.
To display more love and in acts of kindness. I guess you mean to be inspired to do so in the year to come. Thank you, Al. There's a hand here I'm missing. Yes, go ahead, Aura.
Find inspiration and hope.
To find inspiration and hope. We'll take two more, but please keep the conversation going. A little whispering is always good. Yeah.
Total immersion in Judaism with nothing else surrounding it.
Total immersion in Judaism. Thank you. With nothing else surrounding it. The right to take a bath in it on a day when we can't take a bath. Yes. And the last one. Although Bob, I would ask you, to what end? Why be totally immersed in Judaism?
Because you shut the entire world out and everything is gone, and it's just our Jewishness.
Okay. Thank you. Patrick.
To find humility.
To find humility. Thank you. These are beautiful, beautiful intentions. And over the course of the day, of course, it's very possible that you may discover new intentions as you make your way through the day, reading this or that passage and thinking, oh, right, that's why I'm here. We're going to continue now at page 231, Chazan Stein is going to sing in the, I think on the second half of the page. I call your attention to the beautiful English translation there, which, though written by Yehuda Halevi, is the writings and the ideas of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel are very much in line with this, that what's going on today is a seeking of us for God, sure. But critically, this is such an important understanding of the day. Today is about God's search for us, and hopefully we will find one another over the course of the day.
Arashti kirvatecha, v'chol libi kiraticha. Arashti kirvatecha, v'chol libi kiraticha. Uveteti likracha, likrati mitaticha, ובצאתי לקראתך, לקראתי מצאתיך, ובצאתי לקראתך, דרשתי קרבתך, בכל ליבי קראתיך, דרשתי קרבתך, בכל ליבי קראתיך.
We continue now at 232.
אל מלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, וינהג בחסידות מכל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון הרבה רכילה לחטאים, וסליחה לפושעים, עושה צלקות עם כל בשר ורוח, וקראתם תגמול. הורית לנו יום ה-13, זכור לנו היום ברי 13, כמו שידעת לנו מקדם, כמו שכתוב, וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני. ויעבור אדוני על פניו, ויקרא, אדוני, אדוני, הרחום וחנון, אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נושא חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע, וקטע ונעקה, וסלחת לעווננו, ולחטאתנו ולחטאנו. סלח לנו אבינו, כי חטאנו, נחל לנו מגינו, כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח, כי אתה טוב וסלח, ורב חסד, רב חסד,
לכל קוראך, ורב חסד, לכל קוראך. We can be seated.
שלחנה לעוונם הזה ככל אל חסדך, וכאשר נשאת לעם הזה ממצרים וידינה, ושם נאמר, ויאמר אדוני,
שלחתי כדבריך. ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו.
שמע קול אדוני אלוהינו,
חוס ורחם
עלינו, וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו.
שמע קולנו אדוני לנו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים ורצון את תפילתנו.
השיבנו אדוני לך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם.
השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם.
שמע קולנו, שמע קולנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו.
תשליכנו מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו.
השיבנו, אל תשליכנו מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו.
אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, יכלו כוחנו, אל תעזבנו.
אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, ככלות כוחנו אל תעזבנו.
שמע קולנו, שמע
קולנו,
אדוני אלוהינו, חוס ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו. שמע קולנו, שמע קולנו, שמע קולנו.
אל תעזבנו.
Though the ark will be closed, we will remain standing.
אל תענה אדוני אלוהינו.
Eloheinu v'Eloheinu, al tazveinu v'al tichenu, al tachlimenu.
אלוהינו ולאבותינו אדוני.
וסלחת לעווני גרעו.
כך כתוב בדברי קודשך, למען שמך אדוני, וסלחת לעווני כי רבו. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו,
סלח לנו מחלנו
כי אנו
עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדיך ואתה אדוננו, אנו קהלך ואתה חלקנו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו שונאך ואתה רוענו, אנו חרמך ואתה נוטרנו, אנו פעולתך ואתה דודנו, אנו סגולתך ואתה קרובנו, אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו מאמירך ואתה מאמירנו, אנו הזפנים,
ואתה רחום וחנון,
אנו קשי עורף,
אנו קשי עורף ואתה ערך אפיים,
אנו מלאי עוון,
אנו מלאי עוון ואתה מלא רחמים,
אנו ימינו כצל עובר,
ואתה הוא שנותיך
לא
איתנו. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, תבוא לפניך תפילתנו,
ועשית לה מתחינתנו, שאין אנחנו הזפנים,
וקשי
עורף נאמר לפניך, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו,
צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו, אבל אנחנו ואבותינו
חטאנו.
איי 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 איי
אשמנו, בגדנו, גזלנו, דיברנו דופי. הבינו והרשענו, זלנו, חמסנו, טפלנו שקר. יעשנו רע, עזבנו, לחצנו, מרדנו, ניאצנו, שרדנו, אבינו, פשענו, צררנו, השילו עורף. רשענו, שיחצנו, תייבנו, טעינו, תיתנו, סרנו מצוותך.
סרנו ממצוותך וממשפטך טובים ולא שבה לנו, ואתה צדיק הכל בעלינו, כי אמת עשית ואתה ואנחנו הרשענו.
At page 237, we continue with the Al-Khaits. The first block will Chazan Sam will lead us in the Hebrew. The second we will pray in the English, and the third back to the Chazan.
על חטא שחטאנו לבניך באונס וברצון,
על חטא שחטאנו לבניך באונס וברצון, על חטא שחטאנו לבניך במוצא
על
לב,
חטא שחטאנו לבניך בבגידה,
ועל חטא שחטאנו לבניך בביטוי שפתיים, על חטא שחטאנו לבניך בגילוי עריות, על חטא שחטאנו לבניך בגלוי עשתם, על חטא שחטאנו לבניך בדעת מרמה, על חטא שחטאנו לבניך
בדיבור פה,
על חטא שחטאנו לבניך
על חטא שחטאנו לבניך בהונאת ריח,
על חטא שחטאנו לבניך בערור הלב, אחרי שחתן לבניך בוועידת זנות, אחרי שחתן לבניך בווידוי פה, אחרי שחתן לבניך בזלזול הורים ומורים, אחרי שחתן לבניך בזדון ובשגגה, אחרי שחתן לבניך בחוזק יד, אחרי שחתן לבניך בחילול השם, אחרי שחתן לבניך בטומאת שפתיים, אחרי שחתן לבניך בטיפשות פה, אחרי שחתן לבניך בטהרה, אחרי שחתן לבניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, ויודעים ובלא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו. We have sinned against you through denial and deceit. We have sinned against you by clever cynicism. We have sinned against you by the way we do business. We have sinned against you by greed and oppressive interest. We have sinned against you in everyday conversation. We have sinned against you through condescension. For all these sins, ve'al kula, Eloah selichot, selach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות, אחרי שחטאנו בצדיעת ריח, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בקלות ראש, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בקשות עורף, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בריצת רגליים הרע, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בשבועת שווא, ואחרי שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, אחרי שחטאנו לפניך בתימהון לבב, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר We can be seated. Chazan Stein will lead us now in the middle of 240, Hu Ya'anein.
Hu Ya'aneinu, 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 Vishana l'sara imeinu b'ziknata, Hu Ya'aneinu, Vishana l'Avram Avinu b'Hara Moriah, Hu Ya'aneinu, Vishana l'Yitzchak b'nam shenekar al gabei hamizbeach, Hu
Ya'aneinu,
Vishana l'Rivka b'Eryona,
Hu Ya'aneinu, 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 Hu Ya'aneinu.
Vishana l'Yaakov b'Beitel, Hu Ya'aneinu, Vishana l'Leah be'Onyah, Hu Ya'aneinu, Vishana l'Rachel be'Itvonah, Hu Ya'aneinu, Vishana l'Yosef be'Ta'asurim, Hu Ya'aneinu, Vishana lam yaledot ha'ivriot al ha'ovnaim, Hu Ya'aneinu, 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 Ya'aneinu, Vishana le'yochevet as hatayor, Hu Ya'aneinu, Mishana lavotenu, imotenu ayam suf. Mishana lemoshe bechorif. Mishana lemiriam be'era. Mishana liaron be'machta. Mishana lepinchas bekumo b'toch ha'eda. Mishana livnot nota be'ondan shetach ol moed. Hoyanenu, 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 hoyanenu. Tishana la kol hatzadikim v'chasidim v'atmimim v'yesharim v'rachamanim.
Hoyanenu. At page 241, won't you join me in selection Daled? Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back, we pray, to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage. Toby and Mark, I'm glad you came up, but I'm going to offer my sermon now. And we'll do Avinu, so you get front row seats. Okay. Erev Tov, Shana Tova, Gmar Chatima Tova, everybody. Thank you for being part of the strength of our community this evening. May this day go forward with power for you, with a sense of possibility, and most of all, with a sense of joy, of eager and happy anticipation, and most of all, with a sense of love. Love for tradition, love for God, love for the people in your life, those who are here with you today, and those whom you remember fondly, perhaps with pain. Love. I've been talking for a couple of years now about how when we make a bracha, what we're doing is giving God a name. With every bracha, we're giving God a new name. I think of God as an infinite storehouse of blessing. God, by definition, infinite, and here we are, mortals, finite, limited. Whereas God is all-encompassing, our experience of the world is particular, moment to moment. And there are moments in this life that we recognize as instantiations, as particular encounters with God, and hopefully taken with the power, majesty, the divinity of that encounter, we proclaim, God, you are Baruch, you are full of blessing, and of your infinite blessing, you have brought this moment, this holy moment, before me, and I am in encounter, through my encounter with it, through my living it, this moment, I am in encounter with you. You, God, are the one who does this. And that, you, God, are the one who does this, who commands this, who offers this. That's God's name in that moment. And one of my favorite brachot is the bracha that we say upon hearing bad news. At occasion just today to guide new mourners in the recitation of this bracha, and I want to recognize, has Lisa gone home or is Lisa still here? Pardon me? She'll be back, okay. So I want to acknowledge Lisa Zetley, who just a few hours ago buried her mother, Adrienne Weber, of blessed memory. And I led Lisa and her brothers in saying, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. God, you are full of blessing. You who are ruler of time and space, you are the arbiter of all that is true, of all that is real. This bracha, as I'll explain, I think has much to teach us about how the Torah, how Judaism wants us to live in the world. But it's interesting because when this bracha is presented to us in the Talmud's idea for this bracha is one I'm rather uncomfortable with, and I want to take you along that route. So the Talmud teaches that when we encounter good news, when we experience good fortune, bounty, our bracha then is Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hatov v'hametiv. God, you are good. Hatov, you are the good. Capital T, capital G. You God, are the good. V'hametiv, and you are the doer of good. You are the gooder. You are the bringer of good to others, to the world, to me. You are good and you bring good. And the Talmud goes so far as to wonder, should that also be the bracha when we hear bad news? The Talmud concludes that no, when we hear bad news, we're not going to say Hatov Metiv, but instead we're going to say Dayan Ha'emet, the judge or the arbiter of truth. Why? No, it wants a different bracha, but why would it even imagine that Hatov Metiv would be the appropriate bracha upon hearing bad news? Because in the eyes of the Talmud, in that passage anyway, the Talmud asserts that we need to accept whatever comes with love, with the same joy in God's providence with which we accept the good. With that same joy, we should accept that which brings us sorrow. That is the concept called tziduk hadin, that God's judgments, right, the bracha calls God dayan, the judge, that God's judgments are all tzedek, are all righteous and true. The problem, of course, is that I suspect I speak for many of us here in saying that much of what we see in the world does not quite look just and true. We say in Ashrei Tov Adonai Lakov Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav that God is good to all. We say that God loves the righteous and brings punishment to the wicked. But of course, it doesn't always look like life works out that way. Just earlier this evening, we said the second paragraph of the Shema, which asserts that the weather itself tracks our moral merit, that when we behave righteously, the rains come in their seasons, and if we are derelict in our faithfulness to the covenant, that the heavens are sealed for rain anyway. And this is not what we see in the world. In a post-Holocaust world, the assertion that the righteous will reliably prosper and that the wicked will reliably suffer, that is not an assertion that is easy to make. The Holocaust only sharpens a problem profoundly, but it only sharpens a problem that has been obvious for a very, very long time. And yet, I love the bracha, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. So how do I understand it? If it's not Siduk Adin, if it's not affirming the justice of God's decrees, what is it? First of all, I do not regard adversity as God's decree. I don't believe that God wills illness for this one or that one, death for this one or that one, and vigorous good health, long life for another. That's not how I see the world. That's not how I see God acting in the world. Very much in line with Rabbi Harold Kushner, whose book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, I taught a little bit about this summer. We had wonderful classes, by the way, and I'm always eager to welcome new students, new members of the congregation and the wider community into the classes I offer. It is one of my great joys. Very much in line with Rabbi Kushner in that important book, I don't understand God as the source, the cause of these events. I do not believe that God functions in the world that way. Rather, I find in God, as Kushner does, something more abstract and yet something deeply sustaining. Our strength to endure, the goodness, the generosity and hope that is possible in faithful community and human community in the face of adversity. This seemingly bottomless wellspring of strength, hope, support, love. I find God's origin there. I find the origin of that in God. I find the beauty and blessing of the world, the capacity of the world. I find the source of that in God. And when trouble comes, when pain comes, I believe that God is there with us, weeping, loving, holding strong, wishing, yearning for a more just world. Okay. So Dayan Ha'emet, how do I understand this bracha? Somebody once said to me that if that bracha were written in the vernacular today, we would say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, it is what it is. And I actually don't mean that in a flip way at all. I mean that in a deeply serious way. That in the face of adversity, including death, including the death of those most dear to us, Torah is calling on us to stand with the full dignity of our humanity and say, this is real. I can't pretty it up. I can't call it something else. I can't run from it. I can't rationalize it. I have no choice if I am going to be a human living up to the dignity of my person. I have no choice, bent though I may be, to acknowledge that this is real. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you, God, are with me. The speaker in that psalm is in motion through the valley of the shadow of death. That's what it means. This is real. I am in the valley of the shadow of death, and I am in motion. I am moving through the valley of the shadow of death. There is no other way out of it, but there is a way out of it. Now, in the specific context of death, it's true that the bracha, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, signals that the one reciting the bracha is about to retreat from the world, is about to step back, retreat from all their activities, and just be silent until moved to speak, till moved to cry, to receive words of comfort when and when and only if ready. So yes, it's true that in the context of death, the bracha signals that kind of retreat from the world. But let's be very clear that Judaism is a this worldly based tradition. Judaism is about the world we live in. At the same time that Judaism urgently, relentlessly is aspirational about the world that should be. The tziduk hadin, the justification of God's judgments, part, the original conception of that bracha, may strive to see in the world that is God's just conduct of the world. I understand it differently. That what Judaism is calling us to do once we emerge from Shiva, or if we are encountering other adversity, and I'll talk about that in a moment, when we face the world that is, to use every power, every God-given power that we have to make this world one worthy of God's name. Because the way of this world in so many ways is contingent on our action, on our justice, on our wisdom, on what we will bring, on what we will do, on whom we will safeguard. And when we are successful in that, then the world will look as it ought to. In just the last weeks, we've seen earthquakes with mass death. Remember earlier this year in February, spectacular earthquake in Turkey and Syria with vaster numbers still of people buried in their homes. Earthquakes will come. But shoddy buildings made not to code, buildings that have no capacity to withstand an earthquake, that's not God's doing. Of course, that's our doing. The horrific floods in Libya, are they natural or are they climate change? Let's hold that thought for a moment. But the dams that were not maintained, the dams that collapsed and took 10,000 people in a moment and washed them into the sea, that's not God's doing. That's our doing. Judaism, in having us say Dayan Ha'emet, is not calling on us to retreat to surrender to the way of the world. Rather, Judaism is calling on us to say, this is the reality. What are we going to do about it? Who can we be? Who might we be in the face of this reality? This summer, I had a lovely summer. My girls and I traveled. We went this here and there. Lots of swimming when you have 6-year-olds. It's always about the bathing suits. We're very lucky here in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, though we have been, and I believe we still are, in a drought. But we all saw the news. It was a horrific summer around the globe of extreme weather and its consequences. Not just the fires, extinctions of whole species, loss of habitat, animal migrations, human migrations, massive losses in agriculture, severe threats to water resources, and that's just the climate. There's, should I go through the list of troubles we face? Race relations, all manner of manifestations of depression, of mental illness in this country, serious losses, serious setbacks in education in our country, related, still fallout from COVID. But of course, there are other pressures and challenges to education in this country besides anti-Semitism. We all know that's a very big story. Politics in this country are not healthy. Israel is in serious, serious crisis. Talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. So for every one of these things, we may say, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Oh, more bad news, more bad news, more bad news. But Judaism is calling on us not to say Dayan Ha'emet and retreat. Judaism is calling on us to face the reality, to see the reality, to name it. This is the reality. This is the Emet. This is the world we live in. And to respond. Steve Russick, who's sitting close by. I want to thank you for bringing to my attention sources gathered by the Hartman Institute's Yehuda Kurtzer, who brings teaching from Maimonides. It is a positive Torah commandment to cry out and to sound trumpets in the event of any difficulty that arises which affects the community. This practice is one of the paths of repentance. For when a difficulty arises and the people cry out and sound the trumpets, everyone will realize that the difficulty occurred because of their evil conduct. Conversely, hello, Anael. Conversely, should the people fail to cry out and sound the trumpets and instead say, oh, what has happened to us is merely a natural phenomenon, and this difficulty is merely a chance occurrence, this is a cruel conception of things, which causes people to remain attached to their wicked deeds. Complacency and denial are not the way to face emet, are not the way to face truth. Now, something very interesting. Emet is related to the word amen. Emet is related to the word emunah. It is not about belief. If I say a bracha and you answer amen, which I hope you do, and I will do for you, it does not mean I believe you. It means it is a statement of affirmation. What you are saying is true. But of course, that affirmation is about sustaining. I always think if I say a bracha and you answer amen, that you are sustaining it. You are sending my bracha aloft, sending it up to the divine ears, to hear it, to receive it. But throughout Torah, emunah is about steadfastness. It's about faithfulness over the long term. It's not just affirmation in a moment. It's about affirmation and steadfastness over the long term, about constancy, about support. Because to say to someone in a moment, yes, it's true, I affirm that, good for you, go to work, that's of very little value. It's the affirmation with a promise of presence, with a promise of support. That's in the end an affirmation that makes a difference. And fascinatingly, the same word root in Hebrew also means is also related to the word to mother, to nurse, to sustain, support, raise up a child. Emunah, faithfulness, trust, is about the sustaining power that creates worlds. And that's why protest. That's why action. That's why examining ourselves and saying, my God, what do I need to do differently in order to shift the course of things? It's about the long-term view. That's what emunah is all about. That's what saying amen is for. That's why we say Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, because we recognize the reality And we know that in recognizing the reality and affirming the reality, that we are calling on ourselves to act in response, not with despair, certainly not with complacency, but with action. Why? Because the one who says Baruch Dayan Ha'emet is a person, a human being, a creation, one of God's creatures. One who recognizes our God-given capacity to act, to do, to sustain, to rebuild, to repair, to live in spite of the most painful realities of our world, and to strive to eke out of them justice, kindness, compassion, and new life. May this be our charge on this difficult but inspiring day, and may this charge sustain us with the steadfastness of Torah through the year. L'Shana Tova. We stand at 243.
Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu Achazirenu B'Shuva Shlema Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu Shlach Refuah Shlema L'Cholei Amecha. Avinu Malkeinu Zochrenu V'Zikaron Tov Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Geula V'Yeshua. Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Parnasa V'Chalkala. Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Zichuyot. Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Slicha U'Mchila. Avinu Malkeinu Asmach Lanu Yeshua V'Garav. Avinu Malkeinu Asel Mancha Imlo Lema'aninu. Avinu Malkeinu Chodenu Manenu. Avinu Malkeinu Chodenu Manenu. Yemanu Masim Aseh v'kadosh Shem merava ve'alama v'kraktu tegamet mokudim kol v'mekol Beit Yisrael Agalav v'zman kariv imru amin v'ishte rava v'vara la'alam olam ve'amaya Yibarach v'shamach v'krav v'damam v'noseh v'darav v'lev l'al shmir kudesha ולעילה לעילה מקברקתה ושירתה ותשבחתה ונחמתה אבירם ילמה ואמרו אמן יקמר תודו לבדו נכוסו כל המהוני ושמיה ואמרו אמן שלום רבה משמיה וחיים עלינו ועל ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו
We can be seated. Shana Tova, everybody. Tomorrow morning, because there's no pressure to get out for lunch, we are not starting at 8:15 as we did on Rosh Hashanah, but rather at 9 o'clock. Did somebody say something? Oh, so you can wake up and stare at your coffee maker. All right. The after Torah service, we've got some special elements tomorrow morning. It is the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. And Alan Markovitz is going to share some personal recollections and reflections tomorrow morning about what his experience was 50 years ago, as he's still a leader of the Milwaukee Jewish community. Then he was one of the young Jewish leaders of the Milwaukee Jewish community, how he and others were immediately mobilized to mobilize the community, as was going on in communities all over the country, to respond to the crisis. We're going to hear a word, not much more, but a word from Jean Bass, who will share with us an important detail in the history of this congregation. And then Milwaukee's new shlicha, Noah Gerasi, will share her reflections as one born after the war, but sharing a story from others in her family about that time, and obviously from an Israeli perspective, as well as her thoughts about it, about the legacy of that war for her as an Israeli today, an important presentation from our community's new shlicha. So that's all happening in the morning block. That Yizkor will follow that. And then Musaf, of course, and we will have a break. And when we come back from our break, Chazan Stein has designed what I think is going to be a really very wonderful inquiry into the book of Jonah, which I know I'm really looking forward to. Please look at the supplement, your handout, for some upcoming events. I want to call to your attention, it's also in the e-blast, on Sunday morning, a week from this morning, a special dedicated meal that we're calling a Sukkot Shalom lunch in the Sukkah. You can read about it in your e-blast. And then at the end of Yantif, there will be Simchat Torah, and we are honoring Buddy Siegel and Ariel Bloom. There's a poster about that in the lobby. In the midst of Sukkot is the steak and scotch in the Sukkah. Sorry to talk about it tonight. At the end of next month is the Chazan's concert. You heard Chenny mention the movement gathering, convening, happening in Baltimore in December. There are flyers about that outside. Well over 400 are already registered, and of course, registrations are continuing. And finally, I want to welcome all those who are here as guests this evening. Relatives, friends, visitors, you are all welcome, as well as our own members, regulars, and not so regulars. We are just delighted to have you all here. A special welcome, Daniel Ehrlich is here. Daniel, your rank is? Lieutenant junior grade in the U.S. Navy. Daniel is on a new assignment out east, but is here in Milwaukee today, and in keeping with his devotion to tradition, reached out to make sure that he could mark Kol Nidre night with us. We wish you safety, safe travels, success in your assignments, and we thank you for your service. Thank you for being with us. Anything else, Hassan Stein? Very well. Aleinu l'shabach, we stand at 246.
Aleinu l'shabach l'adon ha'kol, l'adinu la'yotzer b'reshit, v'lo tzadku ye'aratot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo samachakinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'kol amonam, v'anachnu korim, Mishtaharim Modim, Lifnei Melech, Mafei HaMachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yoser Haaretz. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה
Lisa, you were out of the room earlier, so in your presence, I want to acknowledge today the passing this week of your dear mother, Adrienne Weber. May her memory be for a blessing, and I wish for you good grief and meaningful mourning and an open path to comfort. All those in mourning or marking a yahrzeit, won't you please stand? We're at page 247. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ימרו אמן. ישמי רבה מבורך לעולם ומאומיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא וימרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן. Did we do the David? Do it now? All right. 248.
Let up Adonai, Rivi Shimini, you Adonai.
Want me to pick you up? Okay. David Adonai, Rivi Shimini, Adonai, Chacha Ultimate. Avail Adonai.
לולא אמרתי לראות כתברי בארץ חיים, קווה על אדוני, חזק ואמיץ ליבך, וקווה על אדוני.
Ida. 250.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא בעיני מציאותו. אחד ינביט כייחודו, נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו. אינו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו. עד לא נכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון בראשית לראשיתו. הינו אדון עולם וכל נוצר, יורא גדולתו ומלכותו, יפה נבואתו נתנו, עד שסגולתו בתפארתו. לא קם בישראל שעוד נעים ומגיד את אמונתו. תורת אמנתת לעם אוהב, היה נביאו נאמן ביתו. לא יכל לפעל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו. צופה ויודע סתרנו, מביל לסוף דבר בקדמתו. גומר איש חסד כמפעלו, נותן רשע רק רשעתו. ישלח לכתמים ושיחנו, לפתור מחקקת ישועתו. מתים יחייל ברוך חסדו, ברוך הדיישין תהילתו. מתים יחייל ברוך חסדו, ברוך הדעת שם תהילתו.
גמר חתימה טובה.
גמר חתימה טובה.
breathe off of. Take our breath.